At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 17th of 19 candidate forums for the 2025 general elections in the Cayman Islands, proudly hosted by the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce. My name is Omari Corbin, and I'm honored to serve as the current president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm also pleased to be one of the panelists posing questions to our candidates this evening, along with Chamber past President Shamari Scott. Before we begin, I would like to sincerely thank the three Georgetown South candidates, Mr. Craig Frederick, Mr. Gary Reddy, and Mr. Eric Lindsay, for accepting our invitation to participate in tonight's forum. By appearing together on this platform, you demonstrate a shared commitment to the democratic process and the people of Georgetown South. Your presence signals your readiness to address the pressing issues raised by the community through a recent chamber survey, which has helped shape the questions that we'll be asking tonight. While time won't allow us to cover every question submitted, we will do our best to focus on the topics identified as most important to the voters in the Cayman Islands, as well as in Georgetown South. When the Chamber was founded in 1965, it was built on the principles of supporting, promoting, and protecting the interests of our members and the wider community. Remaining strictly nonpartisan, we have proudly hosted these candidate forums every election year since 1988. We've provided a neutral platform for 9 elections, allowing voters to hear directly from those seeking public office and helping our community make informed decisions on election day. The questions for tonight's forum have been carefully developed based on past and current chamber surveys, our 3-year advocacy agenda, and submissions from the public in various constituencies. No candidate has received these questions in advance, ensuring a fair and open discussion. As an organization committed to supporting a strong and sustainable Cayman, the Chamber's advocacy efforts focus on 3 key pillars: building a future-ready workforce, sustaining economic success, and advancing quality of life. The newly elected Chamber Council believes that these pillars are fundamental to the continued growth and prosperity of our islands. Looking ahead, the Chamber intends to collaborate with the incoming government to develop a government accountability scorecard, ensuring accountability and transparency. Additionally, we will seek representation on key government boards and authorities, as we believe our members bring valuable expertise that can help shape effective policies and initiatives. These forums require months of coordination, and I'd like to acknowledge the tremendous efforts of Will and our Chamber staff who have worked diligently behind the scenes. I'd also like to express our gratitude to Ashley Furniture and Home Store, Foster's, CUC, and Logic for their generous sponsorship, which has made these forums possible. Additionally, we appreciate our media partners, Cayman Mall Road, Cayman Live TV, Compass TV, and ICCI-FM for broadcasting tonight's event. We are live streaming the forums, making it easier than ever for voters to tune in from the comfort of their homes. We hope this added accessibility encourages even greater participation in the democratic process. The Chamber Council is also pleased to announce that the leaders of the 3 political parties have confirmed their participation in the Chamber's inaugural debate featuring the party leaders scheduled for next Wednesday, April 9th. This marks a historic first for the Chamber, providing the community with a unique opportunity to hear directly from each leader about their party's vision and priorities, both on national issues and local concerns. We hope that you will tune in. And now, it's time to begin. I'll turn the proceedings over to Will Panu, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, who will serve as tonight's moderator. Will outline the forum's rules and introduce our candidates from Georgetown South.
Good evening, candidates. So tonight's forum is designed to give each of you a fair opportunity to present your positions on key issues. The rules for tonight include that each of you will be asked 12 questions, and you'll have up to 2 minutes to respond to each question. When you hear the sound of the bell, that means your time is up, and we'd ask you to wind up your response to that question. Though candidates, you're allowed to speak without interruption from anyone of your fellow candidates, and you may disagree with another fellow candidate's comments. However, you're going to respond, you should use that during your time for the next question, or that same question. And at the end of the forum, each candidate will have 2.5 minutes to deliver a closing statement. Now I'd like to introduce the candidates for Georgetown South. We begin with Craig Frederick, is running as the People's Progressive Movement candidate for Georgetown South. He's a lifelong resident of Windsor Park, where he has lived for over 40 years. He knows the people, the pulse, and the priorities of the constituency because he has lived among them. His candidacy is rooted in heart, heritage, and hands-on approach to leadership. With a career spanning tourism, media, and cultural development, Mr. Frederick has worked to promote Cayman globally while building platforms at home to uplift local talent. From creating Caymas Carnival to revitalizing Pirates Week, he has demonstrated his ability to organize, innovate, and deliver, skills that are essential in leadership. A former national athlete in 3 disciplines, Mr. Frederick began his academic journey at Andrews University before transferring to the University of South Florida, where he earned a degree in marketing with support from the Ministry of Tourism. He was also a recipient of a full scholarship from Coopers and Libran. Mr. Frederick's impact goes beyond events and accolades. He's mentored countless young Caymanians, helping them grow into confident, community-minded citizens. His focus has always been people, ensuring that they have the tools and opportunities to thrive. In running for office, Mr. Frederick brings not just experience, but authenticity. He believes that the future of Cayman must be guided by balance, common sense, and compassion. He offers Georgetown South a voice that is not just familiar, but also deeply committed to seeing the community succeed. Welcome, Mr. Frederick.
Thank you.
Mr. Gary Ruddy is running as the Cayman Islands National Party candidate for Georgetown South. Mr. Ruddy is a proud 10th-generation Caymanian, a lifelong resident of Georgetown, and a dedicated family man. He and his wife, Angel, are the proud parents of 3 children, Hannah, Gannon, and Reagan, and his commitment to Cayman runs just as deep as his family roots. With over 35 years of experience in restaurant and hospitality industry, Mr. Ruddy understands the real-world challenges that Caymanian families and businesses face every day. As a local entrepreneur, he's created jobs, mentored young Caymanians, and championed opportunities for others to succeed. Mr. Ruddy's service to the country extends beyond business. He served on the Work Permit Board, the Central Tenders Committee, the Chamber of Commerce Council, and he's a past director of the Cayman Islands Merchant Association. These roles have given him direct experience with the issues impacting Caymanians, cost of living, immigration, and economic opportunity. He's also a passionate advocate for youth development. From founding the YMCA of the Cayman Islands to supporting programs like Elite FC, Little League, and flag football, Mr. Ruddy has consistently invested in the next generation. Excuse me. Now running to represent Georgetown South as a candidate for the Cayman Islands National Party, Mr. Ruddy brings a steady hand, business sense, and a commitment to unity and progress. He believes Cayman needs leaders, not politicians, who serve with integrity and put people first. Mr. Ruddy is ready to listen, lead, and deliver for Georgetown South. Welcome, Mr. Ruddy.
Thank you.
Alric Lindsay is running as an independent candidate for the constituency of Georgetown South. He's a seasoned professional with a distinguished background in accounting, law, and regulatory compliance. A graduate of Stetson University in Florida with a degree in accounting, Alric began his career as an auditor with PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he qualified as a certified public accountant. His pursuit of excellence led him to the University of Law in London, where he qualified as an attorney at law in 2005. The same year, he passed the Canadian Securities course, broadening his understanding of mutual fund operations. Mr. Lindsay continues to enhance his credentials, earning the Certified Anti-Money Laundering Specialist designation in 2022. He's a member of the Cayman Islands Directors Association and the Chartered Governance Institute of Canada. Currently, he serves as an independent director of investment funds and is registered with the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority under the Directors Registration and Licensing Act. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Mr. Lindsay is deeply committed to community service. During the COVID-19 pandemic, he delivered meals to seniors through the Cayman Food Bank and was recognized with the Pat Bazell Award for his work with Meals on Wheels. He also supports the Cayman Kind Action Committee and contributes to the Community Emergency Response Team, which Hazard Management manages. Having previously contested the Georgetown South constituency, Mr. Lindsay is once again seeking public office in this year's election. If elected, he aims to utilize his experience in law and finance to enhance government accountability, improve financial reporting, and increase transparency in the public sector. Welcome, Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you.
And I apologize for my interruption with the water. Throat's a bit dry. At this time, we're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for Georgetown South. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Omari Corbin.
Thank you, Will. Mr. Frederick, we'll start with you for question number 1. Why have you decided to run in this election, and how do you plan to represent the people of Georgetown South if elected?
Thank you for the question. Good evening, Cayman Islands, and especially a special good evening to my Georgetown South constituents. The reason why I've decided to throw my hat in the ring is to bring about change, bring about stability and responsibility when it comes to governing in the Cayman Islands, especially with the team that I'm running with, the People's Progressive Movement. With the experience that we bring to the table, we are ready to take Cayman forward. And with my passion, my commitment to Georgetown South, I am definitely ready to represent my constituents of Georgetown South. I bring to the table many years of experience and much passion for what is going to be needed to take Cayman forward. I am so looking forward to being a part of that team that turns this Cayman ship around, and that team definitely is the People's Progressive Movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Reddy?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Georgetown South and all the Cayman, especially those watching at home. I respectfully ask that each of you invite your children to put down their phone, turn off the Xbox, and hop off of that scooter for the next 90 minutes and listen to what I have to say tonight. Tonight is about them, because everything I'm doing for their future. These islands are my home, and Caymanians are my family. I cannot be bought, not for any amount. Gary Reddy is not for sale. My Cayman Islands are not for sale. My name, integrity, morals, ethics, honesty should not and will not ever be questioned, especially when it comes to the Cayman Islands and people I love. I know my opponent, Mr. Lindsay, can proudly write an outstanding reference letter for me, as he knows the caliber person that I am. I'm not here to make friends or play politics. I'm no puppet, and I'm not here just to be a number. Mr. Frederick might like to jump up and down, but I'm not doing the dancing to any strings of any party or special interest. Festa can also attest that I stand for the people and only the people. I will fight for our children, for your children, for opportunities, and for the Cayman, where we come first. That starts with immigration reform, controlling reckless spending, and preserving what it means to be a Caymanian. If we don't act now, our kids won't have jobs, they won't have a home or a country that they can call their own. I don't have all the answers, but I always believe in surrounding myself with good, capable people who do. I'm looking forward to working alongside with many of these smart individuals within the civil service who I hold in high regard, who take care of us each and every day. I bring real business experience, a sense of accountability, and a deep commitment to restoring pride in our government. I know how to listen, to learn, and to lead with honesty and humility. It's time to bring Cayman back to unity, prosperity, and hope for all Caymanians.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Lindsay?
Good evening, Georgetown South and the wider Cayman Islands. I'm running as a political candidate in this election to tackle the critical challenges of cost of living, crime, environmental sustainability, education, immigration, and affordable housing. Having grown up in Georgetown South and understanding that each section of Georgetown South has different challenges. I feel that I'm in a unique position to provide practical solutions that resonate with people's needs. I'm a strong candidate because I not only address local issues, but national and international concerns. With my accounting and legal background, I hope to bring back proper governance, accountability, and transparency to the government. We see that good governance is not at play, especially with the 2025 pre-election economic and finance update that we all received today. We can see, for example, we have a core government deficit that is predicted for 2025 of 26.2 million. And then in 2026, we have another deficit of 44 million. And we can also see that the government continues poor governance because they have still not recorded the post-retirement pension obligation on the face of the statement of financial position. And they still haven't reflected that in the actual income statement, which would mean that we would get a hit of $100 million. So that deficit that we're projecting should actually be $100 million more in a deficit if the post-retirement obligation was properly recorded.
Mr. Lindsay.
For round two, Mr. Ruddy, I'll start with you. This has to do with national issues. What are the top 3 national issues you would prioritize if elected, and why are they most urgent to address?
The top national issues that I will address when I'm elected are going to be immigration, cost of living, and education. Immigration reform will be my first priority. Previous administrations have watered down what it means to be Caymanian. They've handed out status grants like Santa Claus handing out candy at Christmas. If we keep giving it away, being Caymanian will be worth nothing. We need to tighten up on the legislation and have proper enforcement. I will advocate for bringing the Caymanian Protection Board back to this country because the people of the Cayman Islands deserve it, and everything that we do, we need to make sure that being Caymanian is protected. We need to implement technology that runs along the lines with different agencies of immigration, police, enforcement, and including the Immigration Board and College Secretariat, because we're sending our children overseas to get educated and they're coming home, and the Immigration Board does not know what's going on with the education side. These two need to be running parallel together because we have to make sure that our children coming home are getting the jobs and being able to be put into the workforce. We also look at the cost of living. The cost of living is one of the biggest things that are affecting all of us right now. Every time that this government spends a dollar, we have to find some place to make that up. We continue to raise duties across the board. It's continuing to affect the private sector, and it's continuing to affect the people of the Cayman Islands who are the consumers. If we can cut back on some of the spending that the government has done recklessly, we can cut back on some of these duties because everything we do, we're importing into Cayman. Our local people need to have a break, and the first place we can do it was the import duties. I look at the possibility, or not the possibility, of introducing duty reductions on healthier foods to create a healthier living, food that are more organic. We can also look to put the duties up on foods that are not of the best interest for us, but it is processed foods. Raise the duties on those and try to force people to eat healthy and have a better healthy lifestyle. Not only will that help with the cost of living, but it will also help with the quality of life and also the health factor that they have. I also go on and I look to talk about education. We need to have education in our schools being taught by Caymanians. We need to identify 50 Caymanian teachers that we can send overseas to get educated, to come back to continue to educate our children. We need to implement a full financial services curriculum so our children are knowing what our number one priority is our financial services, and they have to know about that industry.
Thank you, Mr. Ruddy. Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you for the question. My three top national issues would be education, cost of living, and immigration. For immigration, we recently saw some proposals put out by the government that were not well thought out. I propose, in the case of permanent residency, that some of the easier ways to gain points be removed, meaning walking dogs, and also remove the maximum of 30 points that is given for investment in property, because that artificially raises prices of homes and keeps them high when you have thousands of workers who are aiming to get those points. I propose a simplified immigration system where the PR points are simply used not for permanent residency automatically, but they're used to place people in a pool. A maximum number of people would be selected from that pool every year, and the same for status as well. That will give people certainty as to their participation in the pool, and if they participate 2 times or 3 times, they don't make it, then they'd have to make other plans. When it comes to cost of living, I like to break this down into a few small areas. We have to regulate the utilities. We have a poor transmission and distribution agreement with CUC. We need to give OFREG the power to actually cap the fees whenever OFREG needs to do so. And to get that done, we'll have to get the Electricity Sector Act amended so that OFREG can do more than monitor the CUC rate cap adjustment. We need to look at bank interest rates. We need to ensure that SEMA has the regulatory power to require approval before interest rates go up. We need to also look at things that we can do ourselves, which include personal budgeting and looking at the way that we spend and make sure we're not living outside our means. Also, we need to also look at renewable energy initiatives and promote solar. So those are some of the things I would look at in terms of cost of living.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Thank you for the question. The 3 major issues I would love to tackle is, first and foremost, the opportunities for Caymanians, especially our young Caymanians, or young Caymanians that take that opportunity to go and further themselves by getting that education, and we all tell them that's what you need to succeed, only for them to get the degrees, come back home, and can't find opportunities in that specific field. Case in point, there's a young Caymanian that has a degree in marine biology. We're surrounded by the sea. So you would think someone that went on a government scholarship for marine biology would have no problems getting a job. She's been back since October and has yet been placed in any job. And that is a crying shame. Housing is the second one that I think we can tackle immediately. I think we can find ways, innovative ways of creating housing. And when I say housing, I'm talking about modern, safe, eco-friendly, energy-efficient housing for our Caymanians. Government owns a lot of land, and I've been doing research with a company that's actually based right here in Cayman on the ability of creating affordable, modern, eco-friendly, environmental-friendly housing. Third, health insurance. It's an issue that all of us, young and old, cry about every month. The monthly cost of proper insurance, and I'm not talking about the check plan, but a proper insurance plan is just way too much. We have to be able to find a way that our regular Caymanians are not paying a third, some half of their salary just to insure themselves and their kids. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience, my wife was paying $900 a month for just her and her daughter, and it wasn't the top plan. And that there is just absolutely something that we have to address, which also helps with the cost of living.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick.
The next three questions will be based on the Chamber pillar of advancing quality of life. And Mr. Lindsay will start with you. The third question, which is on the topic of school traffic gridlock. Given the long-standing traffic bottlenecks caused by student transportation to both public and private schools, an issue that's resurfaced in multiple election cycles, would you support concrete measures like mandatory busing, staggered school hours, or increased police traffic control to reduce congestion and recover the hundreds of thousands of hours currently lost to gridlock?
Yes, I would support this measure, but we should also note that these items were addressed in a committee in a previous administration, and they were not implemented by the previous administration. These same measures were brought forward in the current administration as a private member motion, and it was also rejected by the new government. And that was rejected because it was brought by the opposition. So we need to stop playing these games when it's the interest of the country that we need to focus on. The issues were also addressed during COVID, and it was addressed by the Strategic Economic Advisory Council. That council recommended the creation of a Cayman Transit Company. That Cayman Transit Company would have allowed bus drivers and taxi drivers to win contracts for different geographical areas. It would have also raised the standards so that every bus driver and taxi driver was operated at a very high standard. The reason for that is that Cayman offers a high-end tourism product, and therefore we have to reflect that in the way we treat our tourists in terms of customer service on the buses. The other idea behind the Cayman Transit Company was to have large buses on main roads, smaller buses on smaller roads, in the neighborhood roads, and also incorporate Uber. One of the ways to fund this would have been through the increase in tourism accommodation taxes. So yes, I support this idea, but we have to accept that these ideas are actually sitting on the shelves, and we just need people with the political will to implement them.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Can you repeat the question for him, please?
Will do. Given the long-standing traffic bottlenecks caused by student transportation to both public and private schools, an issue that's resurfaced in multiple election cycles, would you support concrete measures like mandatory busing, staggered school hours, or increased police traffic control to reduce congestion and recover hundreds of thousands of hours currently lost to gridlock?
Thank you for the question. I'm right. I completely agree with the question on finding solutions to or gridlock in the morning and in the evenings, especially during when school is out. We have, when I say we, the PPM have had conversations with over the past few months on ideas in order for us to alleviate some of the stress that is on the road. First and foremost, what we really need to do, especially for all of my family in the eastern districts and to help Gary on his commute to town, is to finish that east-west arterial. That there would be an amazing thing in order for us to alleviate some of the traffic that is coming into town. Another option is flex times, being able to work with the businesses to create flex time so everyone isn't trying to get to work during that 7:30, 8:30 window where the majority of the gridlock is. And also, I would definitely advocate that plan that has been sitting on the shelf with that proper public transportation system be enacted. We need public transportation, proper public transportation, and we could even create to alleviate the traffic hubs for park and ride, say mid-island, in order for people to be able to drive to the hub, jump on a bus, and come to town. Also, I think we definitely should be encouraging businesses to also look at possibly allowing their staff to work from home as well. That's another option that could take more cars off of the road than what we see where we are losing hours every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Reddy?
Hi, good evening again. Thank you for that question. I had the honor of sitting last week with my Uncle Norman Bodden, and he mentioned to me 1984, I think the day was, that they came up with a master ground transportation plan. And we're about 41 years later, and nothing has been implemented, and the traffic has continued to grow. The traffic situation we have can be solved or can be lessened if we put a proper bus service in, mandatory for private schools and mandatory for public schools. If we can get some nice buses with Wi-Fi to do our public transportation, we could probably get a 60 or 80-seater bus, and you could probably take 30 to 60 to 80 cars off the road. Everyone who comes to this country and gets a driver's license has to realize that that is a privilege. You're also putting people behind the wheel of cars, and you're basically giving them a weapon. They've never driven a car before, and they've never had a license before till they came here to the Cayman Islands. We also need to look at putting high occupancy vehicle lanes in so that our buses, whether they're public transport or school transport, or more than 2 people, have a designated lane to go in. Because if we can get people to start carpooling instead of 1 person per car and getting 2 people per car in even buses, we can reduce at least half of the traffic that we have on the road. So I'm all for proper transportation services with buses, and also for flex times with scheduling with times for the workforce.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy.
Round 4, we'll start with you, Mr. Frederick, and this has to do with minimum wage implementation. The previous government rejected the report of the Minimum Wage Advisory Committee. If elected, would you adopt the existing report's recommendations or initiate a new review from scratch?
Thank you for the question, Shamar. Minimum wage. I, along with the People's Progressive Movement, are very much for the increase of minimum wage in the Cayman Islands. We have to get to a level where it's not just minimum wage, but also people being paid a living wage. And we need to be able to stand up to businesses that are looking for cheap labor and overlooking the Caymanian worker because he can bring in, or they can bring in, labor at half the cost that you should be paying a Caymanian in order for them to survive in Cayman. I definitely feel that, it's a starting point to increase the minimum wage, but we have so much more to go, because when you do the math real quick, even say we were to increase the minimum wage to $10, that's $1,800 a month. There's not much you can live off of in Cayman at $1,800 a month. So my thing is, yes, we do need to increase the minimum wage, but we also need to increase the opportunities that we should be giving our Caymanian people in order for them to achieve what they want to achieve, where they're not living paycheck to the week before the next paycheck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Ruddy?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question. Far too often, Caymanians have had to settle for the minimum. It is time that Caymanians be able to enjoy some of the fruits that so many other people are coming here enjoying. Minimum wage is near and dear to me because I continue to see our fellow Caymanians struggling each day. If we raise the minimum wage, all that is going to do is the people that we have on work permits, there'll be more money that's going to be sucked out of this economy. We need to get creative. We need to put in things like an opportunity wage that's added on to the people who are on a work permit, but it goes to the benefit of the Caymanians. Caymanians cannot continue to be living at the minimum standards and the minimum wages in this country anymore. A lot of this problem with minimum wage is our Caymanians need to go through and get the education of our Caymanians needs to step up. They need to be job ready and work ready to get into jobs that aren't minimum. But at the end of the day, if we continue to raise minimum wage, with how the amount of work permits that we have with non-professionals, that would be more money leaving this economy. We need to attract more money to stay in this economy, and we also need to make sure that our people, I call it a living wage, but I don't want to see our Caymanians living at a minimum standard.
Thank you, Mr. Ruddy. Mr. Lindsay?
I think we need to clarify the question that you asked, because my understanding is that the minimum wage for the hospitality industry was approved and comes into effect in July. That is my understanding. And there's a long letter at the end of the minimum wage advisory report from the Chamber of Commerce indicating the concerns that the Chamber had. And my understanding from that letter is that if the wage went above $8 and something, that the Chamber members would have concerns. So based on what I've read the report, I've read the Chamber letter. My understanding is that perhaps it's the concerns of the members which got the government to go back to the drawing board to reestablish the Minimum Wage Advisory Committee. I believe that politicians do a terrible job at explaining the impacts of minimum wage, because if the politicians were honest about the minimum wage, they would communicate that the minute you raise the minimum wage, a businessman is going to raise the price of his products or services. And we are not having an honest conversation. So instead of focusing on the number, we need to focus on doing what the Chamber says and having having our students ready to enter the workforce competently. And that's going to require us looking at what businesses need, what businesses' plans are, what skills they require for those jobs, and then looking at the government and saying, where are all of our students in primary school, high school, college, vocational school? What are they studying? When do they plan to graduate? We put all of this information into one database, and then we can tell private sector, we have 10 chefs graduating in 2 years. We have 4 mechanics coming out of vocational school next year. And we match what we are bringing out of the school system to what the private sector requires. And that's how you do it. That creates a workforce, creates our students ready to enter the workforce.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
Well, thank you very much, candidates. We've gone through the first 4 questions. We're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
EV public charging can be a bit tricky to navigate if you're new to the game. But fear not. Here's a little 101 on all things public charging at your CUC charge station. The first tip is to get the mobile app up and ready on your phone before you charge your EV at the charging location. You can scan the QR code to load the app from sitting in your car. Download the mobile app, register a charge account, load money into your charge wallet. You must have a minimum of US $5 balance in your charge wallet to begin a charging session. Scan the QR code again to start a charging session using this charger. You can also enter the station ID number into the app. Follow the instructions on the mobile app to initiate your charging session. Now you're ready to charge your EV. Select either the right or the left charge plug. Plug your car in and make sure it shows as charging on your dashboard. Charging for 1 hour will give you up to 35 miles of charge. Charging to 80% optimizes battery life and reduces the risk of overcharging. So in that time, you can shop or go to work or chat with fellow EV owners. It's a real community out there. Great to see you, Maya. Happy charging, everyone. See you on the road.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for Georgetown South. We'll move on to the second round of questions, and I'll turn it back over to Chamber President Omari Corbin.
Thank you, Will. Mr. Reddy, we'll start with you for question number 5, which is on the role of the Cayman Islands Development Bank. The Cayman Islands Development Bank is government-owned and mandated to support Caymanians through financing for education, housing, small businesses, and agriculture. Given the current cost of living pressures, especially in housing, what specific actions would you take to ensure that CIDB fulfills its mandate, particularly in helping Caymanians access affordable home financing?
That's a very good question. One of the things the Cayman Islands Development Bank needs is to expedite the approval processes with loans that have gone before them. I witnessed this firsthand a couple of months ago in Windsor Park, where a young man was struggling and he was trying to get financing to finish his house. He was living off of a generator, and the young man had sleep apnea. Sometimes that generator would run out of gas at night, and he would sit there gasping for breath. I went to look for this young man, and he told me, he says he's just been waiting and planning, but before he could go to planning to fix his roof, to get it closed and to get CUC power hooked up, he was waiting for his financing to come through from Cayman Islands Development Bank. I called a friend at that bank and I said, listen, I have a friend of mine who's struggling down here and we need to get some help. What can you do for him? He said it'd take about 8 weeks. Unfortunately, my friend didn't make it 8 weeks. He had a crash and he passed about 2 weeks after I had that phone call. We have a lot of these issues today where our efficiencies are lacking. We need to prioritize what's in front of us, and we need to make things happen. We cannot sit back and let Caymanians pay rent, pay a loan, and then even start, if they're building the house, to continue to have to pay the contractor and those costs. I think with the rates are concerned, that is something that we need to look at, whether it's a fixed rate or a flexing floating rate. But at the end of the day, the Caymanian people, when we receive a letter of offer from the bank, they're so anxious and so happy to see that they're approved, but they do not read the fine print. Because a line with that fine print is you have to have that loan insured. They don't know what the cost of that is. So by the time they sign off with the excitement and they find out how much that payment and how long it's going to take to repay that, they'll be forever paying that loan off and basically renting for themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Ruddy. Mr. Lindsay?
I think that the Cayman Development Bank could explore some options, including working along with some of these developers who are interested in building affordable homes, So instead of those developers going to the bigger banks, you go to the Cayman Development Bank, and you get a low interest loan because of their interest in wanting to build affordable homes. Those same developers could be encouraged by a development bank to offer mixed units within their buildings, especially if it's a big building. So encourage those developers to offer low-income housing within their development. Another thing that Cayman Development Bank could do in partnership with developers is to perhaps pursue the building of tiny homes. That would obviously require a cultural shift, as obviously most Caymanians would want to live in a much bigger space. But given the harsh realities of affordability of homes, we may have to make a cultural adjustment. One thing that we have not addressed, and the Cayman Development Bank could address, is the need for people who need assisted living. So we have people who are blind, we have people who are disabled, and those people also want to be independent, just like us. They want to be able to own a home, and at the moment, it seems like people who require assisted living are completely removed from the equation, and that is something that the Cayman Development Bank could also assist with. And when I say assisted living, I mean we recognize that people have different difficulties when living on their own. So we recognize those difficulties, and we get doctors or nurses or whichever medical professional available to help those people to have an independent lifestyle. Last thing I would say is we know that in the case of many people who have affordable homes, they actually can't afford the payments. So they're choosing between having a meal and having that payment. And as a result, a lot of people who had these affordable homes in the past have basically defaulted on their payments. So I think Cayman Development Bank may work with the government somehow to cancel some of those existing debts.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Yes, thank you for the question. How can the Cayman Islands Development Bank help the Cayman Islands, the people of the Cayman Islands? Well, we, the PPM, have been talking about some programs that CIDB definitely could become involved with. First off, housing project island-wide, where it's not about the low-income house, but also it's about the modern type of housing, specifically targeting our young Caymanians that are looking to be able to get out from, mom and daddy and want their own little piece of rock, but can't afford those $300,000-$400,000 1-2 bedroom apartments. With CIDB and the government and working with local contractors here that can produce cost-effective housing, this would be a great option, a great partnership to give our young Caymanians that opportunity to own their own place. Also, small businesses, it's an opportunity for CIDB to be that partner that a lot of these commercial banks are not willing to be partners of small business. I can tell you from personal experience, it is the hardest thing as an entrepreneur to get any kind of assistance in order for you to build your product, to build your business as an entrepreneur. One other thing that I think CIDB should be doing as well is working extremely close, hand in hand, with the Cayman Islands Center of Business Development. I had a chat with the director just last week, Ms. Thais, and what they have is the key for every Caymanian that wants to be their own boss, that wants to start a business. You have to go and see what the Cayman Islands Center for Business Development has. And as I said, hand in hand with CIDB, they can create the success story for many of us Caymanians.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick.
The next question 6, which is the Chamber pillar, building a future-ready workforce. Actually, next two questions are going to be along that pillar, building a future-ready workforce. but this question number 6, I'll start with you, Mr. Lindsay. Given that government spending per student in public schools often matches or exceeds private school tuition, but with weaker outcomes, would you support a school choice model that allows Caymanian parents to redirect that funding towards private or overseas educational options?
I imagine that's an option, but the real issue is addressing our existing issues with education, which is combined with mental health issues. So when we look at what Alex Patterson Foundation has provided in terms of data, we hear that children are actually struggling in education because of the failure to pay attention to their mental health needs. So if we can address that part, then we can improve the education. So some of the things that need to happen are regular mental health screenings, so you address at-risk youth at an early stage. We need peer support programs. We need to have after-school programs that are affordable, because currently some of these programs outside of school, lower-income families cannot afford it. We need to also provide mental health support to parents. We need to have that support in and outside school. We need to have older kids who have gone through issues to talk to younger kids. I stress mental health because if your mental health is not okay, then your physical health and your ability to meet the challenges of education are going to be a lot more difficult. So the idea that you mentioned is not necessarily a solution to redirect funding to a private institution and allow our kids to go there, because if we redirect the funding without addressing the mental health, we're going to have the same outcome.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Scott. My answer to this question is a resounding no. And I tell you why. The public school system has played a very vital, important role throughout the history of the Cayman Islands. Ever since the small little back of the church schools that were established for the people of the Cayman Islands, to today with some of the best schools in Cayman being in that public system. And why I say that, we need to go the other way and give more support to our public schools is because some families aren't going to be able to maintain their child going to a private school. They're not going to be able to maintain their child going to overseas for an educational option. That means all what we should be doing is figuring out a way that we can improve the education system within the public schools, that we can have more schools ranked with the good ranking. And also one thing that I would love to see, that I know us as the PPM party are championing, and we will address this, we need more Caymanians back into the schools as educators. We need to be there for our Caymanians that want to pass on that Caymanian knowledge. If we want to hold on to our traditions or culture, it all starts with the kids. And I am here imploring to all of you out there, if you even have an inkling of wanting to get into education as a Caymanian, I beg of you, take it up, because those are some of the most noble positions you could ever have, by being someone that molds the future of Cayman through our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Ruddy?
Yes, sir, thank you. I would absolutely support this. Education is the single best investment that a parent can make with their children. If we handcuff our children to a failing system, we are ruining their future. We need to put an emphasis of having more Caymanian teachers in the public school system. But we also cannot fail our children and the opportunities that can be created for them. I look at the public schools. There's 16 public schools and only 4 have received good standing. 12 have received satisfactory at best. The outputs that are coming from the school system is 2/3, to my knowledge, are failing and coming through the school system, failing basic math, English, and spelling. That's unacceptable. These are the people who are supposed to be leading this country in 20 or 30 years from now, but we are failing them. Every time I see the school bus go to school in the morning, it is full. Every time I see the school bus coming home in the evening, it is full. The children are showing up at school, but what is happening at school, it is not acceptable. Whatever we can do to help our children succeed, whether it is here in a private school or overseas, because I myself had to send my kids overseas, and I know some parents might have that luxury. But if we can afford it and we can help them with the education and investment that they need to help the Cayman Islands be a better place for all of us, I am all for it. But the first and foremost important thing we have to do is make sure that our public schools are succeeding. All 16 schools should be receiving a good rating, and we need to be putting 100% of our students passing, not 2/3 failing. We cannot let our children down.
Thank you, Mr. Ruddy.
Mr. Frederick, we'll start with you for question number 7, which is on the topic of scholarship recipient job placements. Many scholarship recipients return to the Cayman Islands after completing their studies overseas, only to face challenges finding employment. What would you do to strengthen the link between education and the job market?
Excellent question, Mr. Corbin. This is one of the things that I'm most passionate about in my campaign for this year. As a former president of the Overseas Student Association many moons ago, I saw this situation creeping into Cayman society where more and more college students were coming home and less opportunities were there for them with their qualifications. I approached government about it, and this is, I'm going to age myself here now, was about 20 years ago. And I told the government, if we continue down the path we're heading, where we're not looking at placing these kids coming back home, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector, we are going to end up in a situation where these kids aren't going to want to come home. And we are at that place right now. And what I would do to strengthen the link between education and the job market, the Education Council, the Scholarship Secretariat needs to work closer with the Immigration Department and also with the private sector, where they can show that, look, we have 4 students coming home with masters in biology, and we want to be able to find them a placement come next year when they graduate. So you're giving the country a whole 12 months to be able to find that young Caymanian an opportunity to be able to move in. And when I said an opportunity, a true opportunity, not one where, yeah, you coming in and you're going to have to take out the garbage, you're going to have to, you got to start from scratch. That's why I went to university, so I didn't have to start at scratch. I'm not saying management, but I shouldn't have to start at scratch. And there should be a plan in place in order for me to come home as a college graduate and be able to find a job in my Cayman Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Reddy?
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. I am living this situation right now. My 2 eldest kids have gone off and they've come back. Well, my son came back with a bachelor's and master's degree. And he also had a partial scholarship from government. The problem in Cayman is the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. He has looked and applied for a job even within government. he received a form letter saying that he was unacceptable. The form letter that he received, he never received a telephone call or an interview to come in. If we're going to send our children off on scholarships to get education, we need to give them the opportunities when they come home, especially even in government, because they helped educate my son. I go on and I look at the work and immigration and the enforcement. They need to run parallel together and they need to be linked together. Because at the end of the day, if we have these students coming home, work needs to prevent any more work permits, no pun intended, from being granted for those positions. Our Caymanians, and especially our students and our youth who we've invested in, need to be given the first priority to be able to prove themselves for that job. We talk about experience. They're qualified, but they're not getting the experience. You cannot get experience unless you have a job. Therefore, whatever we can to put these 2 and 3 statutory authorities to make sure that they're linked up, the Scholarship Secretariat, Work and Enforcement, and Immigration, we need to bring them together, make them run parallel. No more permits unless our children are being hired first.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Lindsay?
I just wanted to acknowledge that the inspector reports do show that the public schools are actually improving. So, shout out to all those young people who are making the effort and addressing their mental health so that can enhance their opportunities. For this question, I just want to get clear that, again, it's a kicking the can down the road by previous administrations. As we already know, that the Strategic Economic Advisory Council has already addressed this. And it goes back to my previous conversation of establishing a database. So if the work of the council was not ignored, we would have that database in place functioning now. Whereas businesses would tell us what they need, and we would make sure that our kids are studying relevant subjects that are relevant to the industry. So the idea behind SEAC, as I said earlier, was just to make sure that we match the skills and the education of the graduates with the skills that are required by the industry. That is the match that we need. And I support the Chamber's efforts in making sure that we have a group of students that are ready to enter the workforce. Beyond the database, for the system to work properly, although private sector and government may agree on this database, for it to actually work properly, we have to have an enforcement mechanism. So currently the Immigration Regulation 6 says that upon renewal of a work permit, there may be a training program. That needs to be changed to shall have a training program. And when elected, I will push for that change in immigration regulation, because if you don't have that in place, then you don't get the whole thing to get tightened. If the obligation is not in place to train the Caymanian, then the challenges that Cayman students experience are going to continue. And we also need to have a cultural shift, because not everyone is going to want to do financial services. We need to have that cultural shift so that it's okay to do vocational education, because businesses also need those skills for vocational education.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
For the next series of questions, we'll be dealing with Chamber Pillar, Sustaining Economic Success. And this question, number 8, we'll start with you, Mr. Ruddy. This has to do with revitalization of the Georgetown waterfront. Despite some investment and physical upgrades, many businesses have relocated out of Georgetown due to limited parking and lack of amenities. If elected, what specific steps would you take to support the revitalization of Georgetown, and how would you engage the private sector to make the area vibrant and commercially viable again?
Thank you, sir. I think the closing off of that road in the middle of town has created a lot of havoc. We need proper parking in town. We need proper access to these stores. As you can see, when we close off that road, I think it's Cardinal Avenue, the traffic has, you've taken an artery out, eliminated an artery where traffic can flow freely. You're eliminating some of those businesses where people could drive to them, drop off people. You have no place to park to be able to visit some of these stores. Georgetown is a very beautiful place. It's the capital of the Cayman Islands, and we need to treat it with respect. We also need to get the private sector to get involved with government, but government needs to be able to take some of the private sector advice, because it's not a whole lot that needs to be done, but it's just to be able to bring some of those businesses back to town. Traffic is creating a lot of those issues because no one wants to drive into town. It's a nightmare going through town, especially when the cruise ships are in, even if it's just one cruise ship. We need to do things in town. We need to get our culture here. We need to bring some heritage, and we need to start doing some arts and crafts and letting people, especially the tourists, know who come off of these ships, what we're all about. We could revitalize town in so many different ways. It's not just bricks and mortar and paint. Show them some Cayman culture. Show them what we're all about. And let's bring some life like we're seeing around Pirates Weekend and other activities that we have in this country.
Mr. Ruddy, Mr. Lindsay.
So first of all, we have to take a very practical approach. So we know Georgetown is very expensive. Rent is expensive. So we have to consider the practicalities of that. Can businesses survive on such high rent in Georgetown? Overall, I think that the work that has been done to so-called revitalize Georgetown is a waste of money. It's a waste of government money, because when we spend money, we have to look at outcomes. And I don't see any outcomes for us by paving the whole of Georgetown in front of those stores down to the post office. I have to stress that it's a waste of money. We have to consult with businesses. We don't just build without consultation. We consult with the businesses to determine what type of businesses they have and what services they want to provide. Until we do that, we can't just go and spend money. We consult first, get their ideas, and see if there's a way that we can meet any challenges that they foresee. Also, in terms of what can be provided downtown, we've seen in many other countries where you have mixed-use living. So we have commercial businesses on the bottom, and we have apartments on the top. That would be a way to get people to start living in Georgetown, for example, and then shopping in Georgetown as well. We need to have, I just don't know why we don't have any activities downtown for tourists. It's something that's needed. We have tourists coming off the ship, there's nothing to do. So that's one other thing we can do, is to have some activities for them to do in town. We also need to showcase, we need to showcase our product. Our product is our people. We're not having any Caymanians go down there as tour guides or to show off the creatives. We have Cayman musicians. They could be down there, showcasing their talent. We're not doing it. So we can also explore the idea of closing off a street in Georgetown on the weekends, and also have food there from local chefs. So overall, this whole revitalization of Georgetown is not about spending first. It's about consultation first to determine what we need to meet the needs of the people who will be using that space.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Scott. The revitalization of Georgetown. As someone that grew up on the streets of downtown Georgetown during Pirates Week, during Christmas, and, going to Comart, and just the hustle and bustle of downtown back in my earlier days is no longer there. And we have to figure out a way and work with the businesses and the community on ways of truly revitalizing downtown. And I tell you, the number one way to revitalize Georgetown is urban living. And I'm not talking about building $1 million apartments or what have you. I'm talking about being able to build urban living for people that work in downtown Georgetown. They can walk to work, but without having to pay exorbitant rent or even own property. that is the start of revitalizing town, because if you don't have someone living there, there's very little people that actually explore throughout downtown, especially now with the artery of Georgetown, Cardinal Avenue, being completely cut off. So I would definitely say another deterrent to people coming to downtown is the horrid experience of trying to find parking. For the life of me, I honestly don't know why we don't have one or even two parking garages within the downtown area to accommodate downtown. And that is one of the reasons why people don't go town. That is one of the reasons why businesses are moving out of Georgetown, because their customers just can't find parking to come and shop or to do business at their locations. Also, part of revitalizing Georgetown, we need to create that energy back into Georgetown where you can feel the vibrance, the cultural experience of Georgetown. But again, if we don't invest, if we don't work with our partners of downtown to improve, we will never ever be able to revitalize Georgetown.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick.
Well, thank you, candidates. 8 questions down, 4 more to go. We're going to take a short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
In the Cayman Islands, our habitats, including coral reefs, coastlines, and mangroves, are all dependent on one another. Our economy is no different. From people to businesses, right through to government, it's all connected. And just like everyone wants a healthy ecosystem, everyone wants a healthy economy too. Cayman is a top-ranked international financial center and domicile for captives, investment funds, and pensions worldwide. And our biggest economic contributor? Construction, you ask? Not quite. Tourism? Close. It's true that we're a country of consumers, and the more people we have using our services, the more money we make. But our actual greatest economic contributor is our world-class financial services. Long ago, we had a simple economy. One person has fish, another person needs to eat. That's a transaction. Now imagine that instead of fish, it's a boat, a house, or a car, or a fleet, or business you can earn on. That's investment. But what if you're in Canada and your investment is based in China? Whose rules and regulation do you use? Cayman maintains a high level of integrity with a stable government and a UK-based legal system, globally respected for fairness. That's why so many countries choose us for these transactions. The more transactions we do, the more specialized we become, and the more our economy grows. The result? Cayman is now home to many of the world's top accountants, law firms, banks, fiduciary firms, and administrators. Unlike most countries, Cayman doesn't add an extra layer of taxes on top of tax paid in an investor's home country. That way, there's no duplication of taxation. Instead, our financial services fees ensures constant investment in our professional sector's exceptional service. Cayman's tax-neutral status combats tax evasion with legislation, regulation, and more, ensuring the highest international standards for transparency and cross-border cooperation and attracting reputable investors. All these factors make the Cayman Islands an ideal and trusted international financial center.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for Georgetown South. Gone through 8 questions so far. We're still on the Chamber pillar, sustaining economic success. The next topic is fiscal responsibility, and I'll turn it back over to Mr. Omari Corbin.
Thank you, Will. Mr. Lindsay, we'll start with you for question number 9. The government is projected to miss 2 of 6 principles of responsible financial management by the end of 2026. Specifically, achieving an operating surplus and maintaining 90 days of cash reserves. Does this concern you, and what steps would you take to ensure full compliance?
Yes, this concerns me, but it's not the first time. So the government and previous administrations have consistently breached accounting rules. And luckily, I was a former accountant that can recognize it. So the government has not gotten a clean opinion because of this, because of the lack of putting on the face of the statement of financial on the face of the statement of financial position, the $2.4 billion in pension post-retirement obligation. So when you talk about a breaching the rules, the government has consistently done this, and it's deliberate. And the reason that the government has done this is because if they recorded the pension liability properly, they would then breach the fiscal framework that they have with the UK, which would then mean that the UK would have control over the strategic policy statement in our budgeting. So this concerns me, and this is one of the reasons why I'm running in this election, is to bring back governance, accountability, and transparency into this system. There is no way that we should have a government that's deliberately misstating its financial statements, and our members of our public are okay with it. This is what we should be protesting. We go into the streets about other things. We should be protesting about these fake financial statements. We know that they're incorrect, because in the notes to the financials, they clearly state that the government has not recorded $2.4 billion. If they properly recorded it, we would have net assets of zero. The deficits that we are projecting for 2025 of 26.2 million would be 126.2 million. The deficit that we're projecting for 2026 of 44 million would be $144 million if you properly recorded for post-retirement pension obligation.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Yes, thank you for the question. With the PPM government in place on May 1st or May 7th, we can definitely bring back fiscal responsibility as the PPM has been the government in the past to bring Cayman's financial situation in the positive instead of the negative. And that is through experience. You have to have that experience of operating a government to see exactly where you need to cut the spending, but not cut off what is necessary to run a country. I also feel that with the experience of our former immediate former leader and former Minister of Finance, a senior partner in the past for a major top 5 accounting firm, Mr. Roy McTaggart, at the helm of our finances, we can create an opportunity where we put Cayman back on track when it comes to our finances. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Reddy?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that question there. Does it concern me? Absolutely. And that's why Dan Scott is running. It's going to take a man like Dan Scott to get these Cayman Islands these government finances sorted. We cannot sit back here and continue to watch the overspending. Cayman does not have a revenue issue. It has a mismanaged spending problem. One of the big things that we need to take a look at, you cannot spend more than you take in. Right now, we think we're at $700 million in debt. Interest rates are through the roof. And we also talk about the unfunded pensions and health liability. And to my understanding, it's hovering around $3 billion. That money has to come from someplace, and it will not drop out of the sky. When we get in office on May 1st, and Dan Scott and the Cayman Islands National Party takes over these accounts and the government finances, it's going to be a miracle to find out what we will really find. Dan Scott is a man that I have all faith in. He's one of us. And he also has 40 years experience in the financial industry. He can straighten this mess out, and he can put Cayman back on a good, sound financial footing. It will not happen the first day, but I implore you to make sure that you vote for him and the Cayman Islands National Party if you want the Cayman Islands government finances being put in the right shape.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy.
All right, for round 10, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Frederick, and this has to do with Georgetown South development. Over the past decade, coastal development in Georgetown South has transformed the area's character, marked by increasing private acquisitions and new projects along the waterfront. What is your vision for the future development of Georgetown South? Would you support the construction of multi-story affordable housing in the constituency? And what is your position on allowing taller buildings along the waterfront?
Thank you for the question. That's an excellent question with multifaceted questions for a very multifaceted district or constituency of Georgetown South. We'll go first with the construction of multi-story affordable housing in the constituency. I definitely would be for creating affordable housing that is not just being built at an affordable cost, but is being built where the occupants of that affordable housing can afford to live in that house, meaning creating an energy efficient, eco-friendly unit that they don't have to worry about paying that $800-900 electricity bill because the house wasn't built efficiently. Also, with my talks to some South Sounders who's also in Georgetown South, they told me, look, Craig, we really want to keep South Sound for South Sound. And I didn't understand exactly what they were saying until they really explained it to me, whereas they say they don't want to see South Sound turn in to another West Bay Road where there are mega apartments that just isn't Caymanian, and the overdevelopment of South Sound. So I definitely would support being able to enact a situation where there isn't that overdevelopment of South Sound. And to answer your question about allowing taller buildings along the waterfront, my answer would simply be, I wouldn't. Thank you.
Frederick, Mr. Ruddy.
Thank you for that question, sir. One of the biggest issues and risks that we face in the South Sound areas, Georgetown South, are those fuel tanks. We need to find a proper fuel farm and move those tanks. They're right smack in the middle of one of the biggest residential places that we have right now. You know, you talk about height. To go higher in that area, you also have to consider the aircraft, because it has to be a certain altitude and a certain limit that the planes have to fly over. The whole of Georgetown South has changed with some of the developments that I've seen there. And I think we need to preserve at least some sections of the island. Georgetown South is a very special place, and including Windsor Park. To support the construction of multi-story affordable housing, I am not in favor of that. I think that our children deserve a yard that they can go out and play in, that they can go outside. Putting everybody in a multi-story affordable housing is not the answer. That is just trying to appease the situation. We need to make sure that they enjoy the quality of life, like so many other Caymanians have, to run around their backyard, to go look for their friends next door, not be stacked up on top of one another.
Thank you, Mr. Ruddy. Mr. Lindsay?
I don't envision Georgetown South being overdeveloped without a plan. I think this question throws the cart before the horse. We need to first get a revised long-term development plan that then would inform us of what we're going to look like. And if we plan to build taller buildings, we have to ask ourselves, who are we trying to look like? Do we want to be another Miami? No, this is an island. We have to retain the island feel. We have to retain the architecture of what, the type of buildings that older Caymanians built. The idea of having affordable housing within taller buildings is an idea that I thought of. However, the practicality of it is that some developers may actually resist it. So it is an idea I've thought of, but I think developers would actually resist having low-income homes within their building. But we could propose it. In addition to a revised development plan, we need to have a proper water management system, which then gets you to think about how the storm water is going to flow within any proposed developments. One of the issues that we have in Georgetown South, for example, is the South Sound Basin. And, over the years, we have more development within that basin. And that basin is just a wetland between South Sound Road and Linford Pearson Highway. And the issue there is that the more you fill the basin, the less it can trap the rainwater. And the more that you have buildings being built above existing properties, then the more you have stormwater runoff into existing homes in South Sound, which means that that's going to destroy the quality of life. So we have another project, which is Cayman Enterprise City, which is a $230 million project, which is going to be a mixed-use development, buildings, hotel, businesses, that proposes exits onto Fairbanks and also onto South Sound Road, which would worsen the traffic situation and decrease the quality of life. So before we consider building, we need to have a plan.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay.
This will be the last question from me for the night, and Mr. Reddy will start with you for question number 11, which is on cruise berthing. Do you support the development of a cruise berthing facility as part of a broader strategy to attract larger cruise ships?
At present time, I find our tourism product to be absolutely garbage. Why in the world would we want to bring in larger cruise ships at this time with a higher clientele to experience a tourism product that I am not proud of and I am not happy? For the last 20 years, it has continued to slip away and has not been able to be the pride of the Caymanian people who built that tourism product. We need to re-emphasize and get our Caymanians back in the tourism industry selling our product. As far as bringing in larger cruise ships, I think if we stuck with smaller ones, more high net worth people on these smaller luxury liners, that we would be better off. Who are we going to build these berthing facilities? Who's going to benefit? How are we going to put these people through town? We just spoke about revitalizing Georgetown. Roads are closed here. You can't even go through town at present. Right now, I think we need to focus on our tourism product. I think there's other issues out there that are more pending. You know, we did a survey and cruise berthing never came up. We need to look at cost of living. We need to look at education. We need to look at immigration, opportunities for Caymanians. I don't think cruise berthing facilities right now are helping put Caymanians through school and helping them get jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. Mr. Lindsay?
This is another case of putting the cart before the horse. If you're going to consider building a facility, first you need to consider, you know, if we have activities in Georgetown, for example, if that where it was planned, to cater to the extra crowd that would come from these extra facilities. So we haven't considered that, and we want to build this. Cart before the horse again. The International Maritime Organization would support vessel safety through some sort of domestic vessel legislation. Do we have that in place? No. So why would you then build a facility that supports mass tourism in a situation where we haven't properly taken care of vessel safety and tourist safety? So again, putting the cart before the horse, I would support smaller ships coming here, because smaller luxury ships, because those are people who are going to actually spend. Currently what we have, people come off the ship and they only want Wi-Fi, and they're not spending any money in these stores. Next, we got to think about what's the impact of having this facility. Is it going to worsen the traffic downtown? And if you worsen the traffic, then you're reducing the quality of life for the residents, the people that are currently working, you know, at Maples and Calder and those financial services firms. So we also have to look at what is the objective of those cruise ships and pushing this agenda for the facility. My view is that the cruise ships simply want to control our product. They currently do the tours on board, and the people on the ground are getting a small percentage of that tour price. So my view is that this is just a game to control our whole product, so that they will control all the shops on the port. Then they will go to try to control the local companies, the tour guides, and other businesses, which puts them in full control and puts us at full disadvantage with our own product.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Thank you for the question. And this is one thing in Cayman that's very near and dear to me, which is our tourism product, especially within the cruise tourism. First of all, we have to understand that between the two sectors of tourism in the Cayman Islands, the stayover visitors and also the cruise tourism, we have the most Caymanians that are actually business owners, entrepreneurs in the cruise industry. So we're now saying to them that you're not important. Your family of those 3,000 people that work within the cruise tourism, you're not important. So what are we saying to our Caymanian people that are trying to make a difference, that are ambassadors to our Cayman Islands, to the one of the major sources of our stayover passengers, which is actually cruise tourism? Now, let me crush some myths right now when it comes to mega ships. Having a discussion just yesterday with one of the gurus within the cruise industry. You know what he told me? It's not like we are going to be bringing 4 mega ships to Cayman. Cayman will have the opportunity to manage the number of people that are coming to Cayman. What he also said is that the people that are spending on destinations, cruise destinations, are those that are traveling on the mega ships. So we have an opportunity to create a cruise berthing facility that takes that huge anchor off of our ocean bed and be able to still maintain the tourism product that we have built as cruise tourism, and try to lessen that gap of the almost 50% loss in cruise passengers. That's why we don't have Dairy Queen in downtown anymore, because we don't have the tourism product, the cruise tourism product that we have to put in place in order for us to maintain our competitiveness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick.
Okay, we've come to the end of the night, almost there. This is the last question for me, both tonight and for this debate season. And Mr. Lindsay, I will start the final question with you, and this has to do with ministerial responsibility. If elected, would you be prepared to accept ministerial responsibility based on your educational and professional background? Which ministry or policy areas do you believe you're best suited to lead or contribute to effectively?
Well, I think I would change the question slightly to say, when elected, I would be prepared to work along with a more experienced person as a minister. However, if I'm required to take a ministerial role, it will most likely be a Minister of Finance position or a newly created Minister of Justice position. Minister of Finance, because we need to stop allowing our government to present financial statements in non-compliance with accounting rules. In addition to presenting our statements in non-compliance, we are given a false representation to our public. So our public thinks we have a surplus, but we should be deducting $100 million a year from that so-called surplus. So with my background in accounting, I'll make sure that in that Ministry of Finance, that reports are prepared on time. So currently, we have reports outstanding for years for certain departments and certain public agencies. So I would make sure the reports are on time, in compliance with the law. In terms of, why I would be effective, I think that with the legal background, I would make sure that the proper mechanisms are in place so that there are consequences for non-compliance for the people who are preparing the financials within that ministry. Moving on to Ministry of Justice, we have a situation where, we don't have operational independence with the courts. We have Parliament that approves a budget without understanding the court's needs. For example, when we have legal aid, we have a poor person that goes to court that needs to access legal aid. Currently, the politicians kind of pull a number out of their hat to determine what the court needs. In a role of a Minister of Justice, I would ensure the court becomes more operational and independent, has the money it needs. Currently, we have only one building that gives disabled people access, and that's Court 9. We could ensure that all of the courts have disability access. In order to do that, you need the financing. So in my role as Minister of Justice, I would ensure that disabled people are considered in the design and evaluation process as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Mr. Frederick?
Thank you for the question. If elected, I know exactly what ministerial responsibility I would definitely take up with the PPM government. It would definitely be the Minister of Sports, Culture, Heritage, and Youth. Reason being is because of my experience within all of those sectors, because of my love and passion for all of those sectors. And I think I have that innovative, that out-of-the-box thinking to elevate a ministry that has not been realized its true potential, and that is the Ministry of Sports. We have so many athletes right now in the Cayman Islands, this little rock that is fighting above their weight. And we don't appreciate, we don't nurture that, and we need to do more as a country to recognize and support our athletes. Culture, everyone knows my heart is completely in culture with my past experiences of being a part of the management team of Pirates Week and also being the creator of Cayman's Carnival. Culture is an evolving thing, first and foremost. Culture is about what we here in Cayman are presenting on a national stage for people to come in, which gives us an opportunity for another niche market within cultural tourism. Heritage, we need to save our heritage. Our heritage is not being taught, it's not being passed on, and we have to stop the bleeding, have to stop the leaking of our heritage. And of course, youth, it's all about the children, it's all about the future, and it's all about being the voice for the youth of Cayman, whether it's in sports, education, culture, or just everyday life. That definitely would be my dream ministry under the next PPM government come April 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frederick. Mr. Ruddy?
I respect both my counterparts here, Mr. Lindsay and Mr. Festa. I appreciate what you want to stand for, but unfortunately you won't get the opportunity because I will be elected on April the 30th. I didn't enter this race to sit on the bench. I entered this race to make a decision. If I wanted to sit down, I could have sat home underneath my grape tree and watched the lives of the people of the Cayman Islands go by. But I came here to make a difference. I came here to make a change, and I want to see my Caymanians be given the opportunity that I have given them. I was a managing partner at Comfort Suites Hotel for 15 years. Had 45 Caymanians out of staff of 50 because I believed in my Caymanians. Those Caymanians made me the person I am today. They worked with me through thick and thin, and I was more like family than an employer. The relationships, the history, and everything that they taught me, I will be forever grateful for. I know how to deal with people. I know how to deal with stress. I know how to deal with people who are demanding, but at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. There'll be no other better tourism minister that this country has seen in decades when I take over. And I'm looking forward to how my other Cayman Islands National Party members be along my side. There's also one other ministry that I would also be interested in, and that's border control. Border control because our Caymanians are being left behind. We have immigration laws that are outdated and unenforced. We have protection of our borders that are wide open, about 60 miles of coastline that we can't take care of. I'm willing to go in there and make the difference with technology, with enforcement, to make our country safer, a cleaner, and a better place for all of us. I'm here for the people of the Cayman Islands, and whatever out of those two ministries that I pick up, I will make sure that you're prioritized and you're protected and your best interests are in my hands.
Thank you, Mr. Ruddy.
Well, thank you, candidates. We've gone through the 12 questions. Now we're going to take a short commercial break, And when we return, we'll have the closing remarks from each of our candidates. Please stay tuned.
At CUC, we care about helping our customers. Here are some quick energy saving tips from CUC so you can use less energy and save money. Set your AC Smart thermostat to maintain an indoor temperature of 87 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you are away from home, and have the temperature cool to a comfortable 78 degrees Fahrenheit or higher when you arrive home. Adding insulation can cut your cooling costs by 15 to 45%, depending on your home's size and current insulation. Focus on insulating your attic, walls, and windows for the best results. For your laundry, avoid over-drying clothes. Not only does it waste energy, but it also harms fabrics. Dry towels and heavier cottons separately from lighter weight fabrics to save energy. Your TV and gaming setup can be big energy consumers. Save costs by reducing in-game settings and turning off your console when not in use. Remember, every small step counts. Use energy wisely and make a big difference in your energy bills and the environment.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Welcome back to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum for Georgetown South. Gone through the 12 questions for this evening. It's now time for the closing remarks from each of our candidates. And we'll begin with Mr. Craig Frederick.
Thanks to the Chamber of Commerce and the panelists, the amazing panelists tonight, for all the questions that they've given us. And also a huge thank you to the Georgetown South constituents who has opened their doors, opened their hearts, and opened their minds and shared ideas on how to take Cayman forward. I especially want to thank my PPM family. The camaraderie that we've created over the past few months has been something magical. Especially, I want to thank Ms. Barbara Cunliffe for being that stalwart for Georgetown South over the last 2 elections. Also, Ms. Barbara, thank you so much for your guidance and your endorsement to be the next representative of Georgetown South. We have to right this ship, Cayman, and put it back on course for success. We have a lot to do from day one. And let me tell you, we have to hit the ground running, and not with a party that has absolutely no parliamentary experience whatsoever. We aren't ready for a party that is going to be learning on the job. We aren't ready for a Georgetown South representative that doesn't even live in Georgetown South. We need a country that will be run by a balanced team of experienced politicians, fresh new blood, and a gender equality that is part of the PPM product. Also, we need to run this country as a country, not a business. I've heard many of the comments over the last few months of, we're bringing in fiscal responsibility, we're going to cut this, we're going to cut that, we're going to privatize this, we're going to privatize that. That's not how you run a country. When you run a country, it's about your people. That's what it's about, not the bottom line. Also, I just want to say, Georgetown South, you need to know where your candidate stands right now. Who are you going to align yourself with if you are elected? I am telling you right now, I can say, when you choose Craig Frederick as the next representative of Georgetown South, I will be standing with the PPM party. Just want to remind you that the manifesto launch, if you want to see what's going on with PPM, come on out tomorrow night at Compass Green. And also, I could never do this. I'll get in problems if I don't do this. I just want to thank my beautiful wife for all of the support she's given me over this time. And thank you, Cayman. Thank you, PPM. And thank you, Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Gary Ruddy.
I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting us tonight, and I'd also like to thank the residents, the people of Georgetown South and the Greater Cayman Islands. Talk about experience, and the experience that my counterpart here is talking about. We're drowning in debt. Opportunities are being swept away from us. People are taking over. Do we want to continue down that road where our children don't have any opportunities to come home to enjoy that so many people have? Or do you want to be stuck with billions of dollars in debt and trying to find out where you're going to get it from? If that's what you want, you can go the other way. But if you want a future and a country that will prosper and put Caymanians first, you vote for me and the Cayman Islands National Party. We're at a pivotal moment in our country's history. If we don't get this right, there may be nothing left for our children. For too long, for at least the past 12 years and counting today, we've watched elected officials give away our heritage, our birthright, undermine our future, our children's future, and diminish the hopes of the next generation. Let me be clear, I am not here for a job, but there's a job to be done. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I know how to surround myself with people who do. People with knowledge, integrity, and a deep commitment to Cayman. That's how I built success in the past, and that's how I will lead this going forward. They say Cayman is at a crossroads. I say we're at a breaking point, and we must break that cycle. We can't continue to keep voting the same people, the same parties, and the same tired politicians and politics and expect the different results. We've all living it, and we're experiencing it right now. Let's not forget the same people who couldn't work together, who changed leadership at least 3 times in 4 years, are now all cozied up together and asking you to join them? Come on, Caymanians, we all smarter than that. I know I wouldn't get in that bed. The leadership has been unstable, and they have proven that they will and have put us in a dangerous path. It is time for something real. The Cayman Islands National Party is a party of integrity, built by people who are stepping up for the right reason, not personal gain. We are community-driven, and we are ready to fight for the future Cayman deserves. I'm asking you, Georgetown South, to vote for me, Gary Peanut Ruddy, number 3, on April the 30th. I am imploring my fellow Caymanians to vote for Cayman Islands National Party. Let's get to work. Let's protect this special place we call home and our 4 parents who worked so hard to create it, even risking their lives. We cannot let them down, we cannot let us down, and we cannot let our children down. Good night, and I hope that God will bless these Cayman Islands come April the 30th.
Mr. Alric Lindsay.
Good night, Cayman Islands, again. I was going to do the John of Little Cayman and Cayman Brat, but it's but it's not confident tonight. So thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for your hard work in the background. I surely appreciate what it takes in the background to get a production like this done. Thank you to the camera people, to the sound, and everyone else who's assisted in this process. I just want to take a moment to explain why I'm the person that deserves your vote, that deserves to earn your vote. I started at a young age in a Leo club in service. So I see myself as a servant of the people. I see myself as a consultant to the public service. I see myself as executing the interests of the people and the country as a whole, executing their best interests. Now, talking about some of the things that one of my opponents has said, we can't really run an election, we can't run a government on emotions. We have to run the government based on good governance, accountability, and transparency. Now, I heard a comment about a financial person in the previous government and a previous party controlling the finances and putting us in a good state. I just want to be clear to the people. Previous administrations have deliberately misstated the financial statement position by $2.4 billion. What's going to change by having the same person and the same position? Now, when it comes to Cruz, my opponent has not considered the reports that have been put forward by professionals that say that there's possible damage by the silt to the coral. So if we damage the product that we're showing to tourists, what tourism product are we going to have? And then we talk about launching a manifesto in a couple of days. Well, I launched my manifesto in February, so there's no mystery as to what my positions are. And my manifesto is a living manifesto. And so I take into account the concerns and challenges that people bring to my attention in Georgetown South. So I'm not trying to create a personal legacy. I'm trying to create a legacy for all of us and future generations of Caymanians, not just Georgetown South, but all of us rising together in a rising tide. Now, I also heard one of my opponents said that he's going to rely on his party leader to look at the financials and put the financials in a good state. But I also have to confess that we need to be individually competent as well. And that's why I can bring my skills as an accountant into this role. I'll be individually competent, make those value-added contributions to the government, be able to go back and forth and determine what's correct and what's incorrect in the best interest of the people. So, Cayman Islands, Georgetown South in particular, if you want good governance, transparency, and accountability, and if you want politicians to act in the best interests of the country and not themselves and grow personal legacies, vote for number 2 and get me through.
Thank you, candidates, and good night for you. I'm now turning it over to Chamber President Omari Corbin for some closing remarks.
Thanks, Will. On behalf of the Chamber Council and staff, I would like to thank Mr. Craig Frederick, Mr. Gary Rutty, and Mr. Arig Lindsay for participating in this evening's forum. I trust that this forum will help Georgetown South voters make informed decisions about who to vote for when they go to the polls on April 30th. I would also like to thank Ashley Furniture and Home Store, CUC, Foster's, and Logic for sponsoring the Chamber's candidate forums. Please join us on Monday evening as we welcome the 4 candidates from Georgetown West: Tyree Hernandez, Craig Merrin, Paulina McGaw-Lumsden, and Hunter Walton. Please note that all forums will be posted on the Chamber's YouTube channel for your future reference. The Chamber Council is also pleased to announce that the leaders of the 3 political parties have confirmed their participation in the Chamber's inaugural debate featuring the party leaders scheduled for next Wednesday, April 9th. This marks a historic first for the Chamber, providing the community with a unique opportunity to hear directly from each leader about their party's vision and priorities, both on national issues and local concerns. The debate will be broadcast live on the Chamber's YouTube channel, as well as on Cayman Mall Road, Cayman Live TV, Compass TV, and Radio Cayman. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you will join us on Monday evening, and do have an enjoyable weekend.
When you run your own business, you have a career as an accountant, stock taker, delivery driver, therapist, legal expert, mother, father, and the rest. But there's one area you don't need to be an expert in. At Brava, we take the complexity out of your business solutions. We keep it simple, so you can get along with doing what you do. Brava, the Simplify My Business company.
Why is my bill higher? These days, it might seem like the cost of everything is going up here in Cayman. When it comes to your energy bill, this may be no exception. You may be wondering why your bill is higher when you haven't done anything different in your home. Here are some common factors that will increase your energy usage. As temperatures outside increase, your air conditioning unit has to run longer to keep your house cool, even if you haven't adjusted the thermostat. During the summer months, cooling your home can make up more than half of your energy bill. It's important to maintain your AC so that it can function as efficiently as possible. Changing your AC filters can also help with ensuring units are functioning properly. Remember, for every degree you turn up your thermostat, you can save on your monthly energy cost. Turn off your AC when no one is home. Thermostat should not be set any lower than 78 degrees. Also consider closing blinds and drapes on the sunny side of your home. This will help reduce the temperature inside your home. Remember to consider energy waste. Think about the items in your home that are using energy, like gaming computers and ceiling fans. Always unplug and turn these items off when they are not in use or needed. This will help you conserve. Now that you have some energy saving tips, you can track your consumption daily on MyCUC. Learn more at www.cuc-cayman.com.